You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because it felt like a failure. And then I realized, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. I am your host, Marine Corps veteran and just devil dog extraordinaire. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, owned by an Army National Guard veteran. And I want to thank my supporters, all veteran-owned businesses, Caisson Shaving Company, Black Cat Designs, and Savage American Woodwork. Having a great time this year. It's been a great year for Oscar Mike Radio, and people sometimes ask me, how do you get guests? And I really do think that it's the old ways are the best ways, word of mouth. And I want to give a big shout out to Courtenay Nold, U.S. Navy officer, retired. We've done some collaboration together, and she's like, hey, here is this person I want you to talk to. When Courtenay says that, I just say, yes, ma'am. So I'm pleased to introduce one of Courtenay's dear friends, and I've had a blast getting to know what she's about. Christine Walker, Navy Corpsman and founder and owner of Devil Doc Publishing. Welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a blast. Look, Courtenay has gotten me into so much, and I just say yes, and good things happen. So I'm like, when she's like, hey, you got to talk to Christine, I'm like, I'm there. And then I went on your website, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like some really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into that in a minute. But first, kind of tell people, what Christine did in the military, because it's kind of interesting.
So I was a corpsman. Went in as a corpsman, was stationed at Lejeune, Blue Side. And of course, as I was sharing with you, it was pre-Women in Combat, 1994, that happened. So I actually got out in 1992, but I was in during Desert Storm. And so it was good, and loved it. Interesting fact, my brother's a Marine. And so I got sibling duty literally 3.5 weeks after I arrived. He was deployed. And that was back in the day when they had a really long deployments.
Right.
So he was pretty much gone the entire time. He literally got back from deployment about 2 months before I got out of the military and moved back to Colorado. So he took over my little duplex that I had in Jacksonville, and yeah, strange.
Siblings, huh? Did you ever do like any kind of like medical checkup on him?
No, that's off limits.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious. I do have a question I ask every corpsman.
Okay.
So, we were told in the Marine Corps that the key to long life and good health is, of course, clean socks.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two is, a bottle of Motrin at 1,000 milligram strength.
Yes.
And a gallon of water a day. If you had or did those three things, you are guaranteed to live at a higher level than other people. Do you find any? Was I just told a bill of goods, or is?
No, that's the Corpsman. That's the Corpsman recipe.
Really?
That is the Corpsman recipe.
You all say the same thing, so it's maybe it is true. Okay.
I don't know how true it is, but it's what we would tell you guys.
Well, we were in the desert in Yuma, Arizona, and the corpsman wasn't happy because we weren't, drinking enough water in his view. So,
well, yeah, that'll get you the wrath of a corpsman in a heartbeat.
he's like, the happiest corpsman alive is one with nothing to do. Corporal, they're not drinking enough water. I'm like, we just drank a gallon of water an hour. Not enough. Not enough. So interesting, interesting. So that was a very different time in the military. We were talking about this before we
Oh,
got
yeah.
on. A very different time in the military. Like, women couldn't go certain places that male corpsmen could, right?
Right. So my company's name is Double Dock Publishing. It's really, excuse me, it's not because I was 8404. I make that clear on our website. It was really a wink and a nod to my fellow corpsmen who could. When I was in, there were no billets for female corpsmen to go 8404, even though I asked and asked and asked. So eventually they're like, Walker, just stop. So anyway, but I wanted to be. So I named my company Double Dog Publishing as a wink and a nod to my fellow corpsmen and also to all of my double dogs. So
Semper Fi.
yeah.
So you do this. Did you serve for 4 years or more than 4 years?
No, I went in as a reservist.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then during boot camp, the day before my 19th birthday, Desert Storm started. And so obviously we were at war. They shaved a week off of our boot camp, believe it or not. And it was like fast pace, get in, get out, get done, get to A school. When I got to A school, I went active duty, and then went from there, went to Lejeune. And then once all of that was done around 92, that's when they were really doing a lot of downsizing to our military. And so reservists gone active duty, I was on the chopping block. Early retirements, there were just a lot of people who were like, okay, toodles, see you later. And that was me. So I'm like, well, crap. Now what am I going to do? Because I had no B plan, none. I literally had planned to make a career in the military. And I thought, once I get through this duty station at Lejeune, I'll go to Pendleton where there are, billets for female corpsmen for 8404 and go that route. No, they, fate had another plan for me. So out you go. I literally got out. I had no clue what the hell I was doing.
So you got like literally booted out,
Yeah.
and you're like sitting there with your sea bag, like, what's going on? What
What the hell
happened?
do I do now?
Yeah, what's
Right.
going on? What happened after that, Christine?
Well, back then, and you're kind of my era, getting out of the military was very different back in the early 90s than it is today. Today, you have a year of transitioning services and building a resume and, trying all these different things. And there's things like SkillBridge and all those things that help, active duty military members transition. No. What did I have? I went to our services and logistics. I got my last paycheck, my per diem for my move. What else did I get? My DD 214 and a kick in the ass and have a nice life. That was it.
Similar. It was 2 weeks transit TAPS program. All I was told was to make certified copies of my DD 214, and then hey, see you later.
Right. Yeah, there were no transition.
I was fortunate where I moved. There was a master sergeant from the Army who, really cared and did a couple things to get me pointed in the right direction. But you're right. Back, now, it's kind of like, I don't want to be that old fuddy duddy, but it seems like sometimes, Christine, I'm like, if you serve now and don't have some kind of plan when you get out, that's kind of on you.
Right.
Because now you're right. It's almost like, hey, you can get like the Army has something where if you want to get out, they'll get you into like CVS or Home Depot or another company that has this program to help.
Right,
I mean, it's there for you. You just got to
right.
show up. So none of that for you. You got your sea bag on the
No,
sidewalk,
no.
and won't get you so much as a cup of coffee in at Denny's. What does Christine do next?
So Christine moved back to Colorado.
Okay.
And then I'm like, I had met a guy in high school, thought I was in love, and ended up moving to California. He was active duty Navy. He was a gunner's mate. So I moved to San Diego with all my crap. He literally flew in and we drove this massive U-Haul Penske truck, whatever it was, all the way across the desert into California. And that relationship didn't work out, but I fell in love with the city of San Diego, so I ended up staying. But yeah, my first job after the military was at a Shakey's Pizza, I think it was, in Chula Vista. And I remember working there, and I'm thinking, okay, this will be like a really no stress job, right? And because it's like pizza, it's not life and death, not what I was used to being a corpsman. So, and it was my first real taste of the difference between civilians and military mindset. So my manager decided that I was not taking everything serious enough. And, my response was very calm and very simple. It's like, well, I said, well, it's not life and death. And I guess he did not like that answer. So I did not work there very long. But, going into a situation where the manager is stressed, so therefore you have to be stressed. Yeah, we don't really do that in the military, and we definitely don't do that as corpsmen. We for sure know what's a stressful situation when we are losing a Marine and we don't
Right.
know how to treat him. That is a stressful situation. Making pizza or having a customer bitch and complain because you didn't put enough pepperoni on their pizza was not a life and death situation. So early on, I got a very, very, very critical perspective of military mindset, civilian mindset. And so then I'm like, you know what? I don't want anything to do with this. And then I went to, believe it or not, floral design school. I didn't want anything to do with the medical field. So I went the complete opposite, and then realized I don't want to be a florist either. So I pretty much turned into kind of this, free spirited, where are the opportunities? And I would just walk in those opportunities as they came available. And most of the time realized that wasn't for me, but there are a few things that I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that, or I could do that. Never really saw myself doing something long term, in the sense of working for others. But I did start to grow and mature in and of myself, and became someone who would glean from every situation I was in.
So you're doing all this. Where did this idea come from to start a publishing company? Were you a writer in the Navy? Was it something you picked up after you went through this time of maturity?
Well, I've always loved to write,
Yeah.
but of course, I didn't think I was any good.
Okay.
So I never shared anything I wrote. And then about 19, well, I would say over the next few years, I went to the Texas Peace Officer Academy, passed my chief close, and then immediately went back to California and was the security coordinator for a pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
And so running the department, obviously, writing is subjective, but you're writing all these, SOPs and policy procedure type things. And so I was starting to do a lot of that. And then around after 9/11, I just was not satisfied anymore. I wanted to do something more. So I started a nonprofit. Well, when you're running a nonprofit, you don't get paid really, and you have to put on a lot of hats, whether that's web design or designing materials and so my design bug started, and I was self-taught. I taught myself graphic design, and I continued to write, and I continued to publish and do little things. And then when I moved to the Denton area, I got a job at a old newspaper. It's the oldest newspaper in Denton County, Texas, and the Pilot Point Post Signal. And I got a job there, and I fell, for the first time in probably 30 years, I fell in love with something.
Oh, wow.
And I fell in love with publishing. I fell in love with, the design of it, the layout. I fell in love with the ad sales and just how it works to get a magazine and a periodical publication out. And what's funny, at the paper, I didn't write at all. I was just mostly ad sales and design. And pretty soon, I started a publishing company with a friend of mine. And so I was the creative director, and she was the sales director. And we started a little community publication that was really unique and not cookie cutter like so many are. And after a few years of doing that, I just was not satisfied. It's like, is this it? And I love my veterans. It took me 25 years to come back into the veteran community in the fold.
Oh, wow.
For 25 years, when I first got out, I just quit pretending. I just started pretending I wasn't a vet. I got tired of the constant divisiveness and just, from other vets, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a real vet, you're not this. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't have any tolerance for all this drama. So I just put my sea bag in the back of the closet and pretended I wasn't a vet, like it never existed. And then 25 years later, I got back into it, and it's a very different veteran community today than it was back then.
It certainly is. So you're doing all this, and you're finding your, I don't know, lack of a better term, rhythm.
Right.
When did the idea start to germinate that, hey, you know what, I am doing a good job at this. I can write at a very good level. What was that during this whole time, or was there something else that kind of brought that on?
I've never considered myself, even today, I don't consider myself a great writer.
Yeah.
I think I'm a solid writer. I know I'm a storyteller. That's kind of my writing style. I want to tell people stories. Sometimes it's journalistic. If I'm doing a research article, I will kill you with facts. So I'm pretty good at that. But I was just not satisfied anymore with it myself or my life with just doing a community periodical magazine. I wanted something more. I wanted something meaningful.
Okay.
That was just more than promoting businesses and doing that. And don't get me wrong, I love my businesses and entrepreneurs and all that, but within the veteran community, there had to be a way to kind of create this hybrid of veteran stories and a quarterly publication that could go out to veterans. And initially it wasn't written 100% by vets. And so I was in the hospital. It was during the high time of COVID. I had a major life-saving surgery, and I was by myself. I was an hour and a half away from home. No visitors, no other than the nurses. And the pokey guy that would come in every morning at 4:30 a.m. on the dot. And but the Blue Angels were flying over DFW, and they were flying by hospitals it was that time when everybody was trying to just be supportive. And and I saw them at a private room, and I saw them go across my window, like in perfect centered formation. And I was like, you know, I want to start my own publishing company. I'm sitting in the hospital bed and I'm like, and I want to do a veterans magazine. And, somebody's like, well, aren't there other veteran magazines? I'm like, I don't know. Let's check it out. And so I did. And there were, but there weren't any that were independently owned.
Right.
They were all corporate owned, including so many of our, what we know is
Well,
comic.
military.com, We the Mighty, all those people don't understand.
Right.
Those are corporate owned. The corporate
Right.
people are telling them what to write about. It's
Right. They're telling what they can and cannot write.
yeah.
And I wanted something that was just really edgy and independent, and nobody was going to tell us what to write or not to write. And so I started Devil Dog Publishing, and then we started Addie's Veterans Magazine. And we've been doing publishing for 3 years. And over the course, in fact, we're working on our 11th issue right now. It's going to be really kick-ass. It's going to be a good one. And at the end of the day, it has literally turned into an uncensored, unfiltered,
Yes.
100% written by vets for vets. We are raw and edgy. We do not water anything down. We don't filter it. We don't filter language. We don't filter, difficult operational kind of situations. We don't filter. And I love it that way. And we cover everything. I mean, within our 80 pages, but this next issue will be 88 pages.
Oh,
We
wow.
cover everything. I mean, from, veteran entrepreneurs to transition, DD 214 and beyond. We cover mental health, physical health, we cover, and wellness. We do veteran stories. We cover veteran service organizations. We do it all.
That is absolutely awesome. Awesome. So you
And
started in COVID, you got
yeah,
these issues going. So
yep.
answer the question of the hour. How did you and Courtney meet?
So Courtney actually wrote, it was our spring of 20, or was it summer? Our summer. It was summer of 2022
Okay.
issue. And we were doing a big PTSD feature with a lot of different articles. And so she let us use her PTSD story.
Wow.
And so it got shared with our veteran readers. Yeah. So, and I'm super excited because we have some of her poetry going in our fall issue. So,
Man, I tell you, Christine, reading some of her poetry, I'm like, Courtney, this is really good stuff. I'm not really a
she's
poetry,
excellent.
right? Just super, super talented. And,
Yeah.
Was just really, sitting down and telling me how, being able to share on your magazine was a real outlet for her. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
that's the whole point is, we of course we have staff writers and we have feature writers who do kind of the same feature but different subjects every issue. And then we have a ton of contributing writers. And I have vets come to me all the time. It's like, okay, what do you want me to write about? I'm like, and you will not hear this from any other publisher for any other veteran
Oh
magazine.
boy.
I promise you this.
Let's
My
hear it.
response is, it's your voice. What do you want to write about?
I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, for a fact, I don't think I've ever heard that. Generally, publishers I talk to want very defined rules of engagement and frameworks.
Yeah, not us. We're like, whatever you want to write about, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, do you need help narrowing it down? Because I can help you with that, but I'm not going to tell you what to write. I'm
Nice.
not going to do it. It's your voice, it's your heart. What's on your heart? And I have veterans all the time. We have a lot of really pissed off veterans right now.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. And I had a veteran come to me. He's 93 years old, a Marine Corps captain, retired. And he's been one of our feature writers since our inaugural edition, Captain Paul Sullivan. And
Wow.
let me tell you, he wrote me an email, very respectful. He doesn't need to be that respectful to me because it's like, hello, you're Paul Sullivan, captain, Marine Corps captain. But he is just this wonderful, hilarious. He does a lot of humorous stories, which are hilarious. They're funny as hell. But he wrote to me and he said, I'm really upset and I need to talk to you. Is it okay if I write about this? My response was, it's your voice. Absolutely. You can put this in. You don't need my permission. I don't care if it's political. I don't care if you're naming name. I don't care. If it's your heart, your voice, do what you want to do.
Now, you say that, and then they write something and turn into you.
Mhm.
What's it like when you realize that they have, embraced what you said to them and really got their voice out?
It's humbling for me.
Yeah.
It's also very emotional because I'm the first person to read all these stories.
Oh, yeah.
And so there are times I read them and I'm like, I'm sitting here at my computer just in tears. And I'm like, okay, so first I read for content. What is it about? That kind of thing. Then I go back with my editor-in-chief hat on, and then I read for edits. So it's different. I know what the story's about, but I'm not really paying attention to what's being said. I'm just looking at like sentence structure and stuff. But first time I read something, I'm always so humbled or so amazed or so it's so heartfelt. And that's what I love about it. And sometimes it's really raw and
Yeah.
it's hard to read. Sometimes it's funny as hell. And I literally I will cry laughing. Sometimes it pisses me off. So it's just all, but if it's doing that to me, it's going to do that to our readers as well. And as a publisher, you can't get any better than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Awesome.
it's all good stuff. And if a writer isn't super proficient at writing, but it's their voice, my assistant editor, who by the way is also a Marine, he was a radioman in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Phenomenal, amazing human being. So Les Stevenson, and he and I painstakingly, we have a system, and we painstakingly go through each and every article, really working hard not to change their voice, but just making the structure or the continuity better.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll move things around, or sometimes, we'll just fix spelling errors, grammar, stuff like that. But we really, really work hard to make sure that the voice of the veteran does not change, no matter what we do to the editing. So.
That's really powerful, Christine. What's been some people who read your magazine? What's been their feedback when they read some of these stories?
Everybody loves it. We get thousands and thousands of readers on our free e-magazine every issue. Thousands. And we don't get a ton of feedback, but when people start ordering the print issue of print subscription, they're like, oh my God, this is so much better than I thought it was. Because it is truly a coffee table magazine. It's heavy. I would guesstimate that like the magazines as of right now are probably about a pound each.
What?
It's heavy paper.
Yes, yeah.
Full color. It's heavy. Oh, so this is it. Can you see it? It's not gonna. My green screen is not lit. There we go. I'll put it right in front of my face.
Nice. At Ease, Veterans Magazine.
So it's heavy.
Oh, wow.
It's very heavy. And it's You know, we have people who have them on their coffee tables, and we have people who have every single issue. One of our contributing writers, he does our fitness. He's also a Marine, Daniel Dancer, you know, just really into fitness, and he's just friggin' amazing and so uplifting. But he has every single issue, and he has them in like a frame. So it's, you know, I mean, they are frameable. They are coffee table level magazines. So
Nice, nice. So how can someone watching this subscribe to your magazine?
so if you want to subscribe to print, you go to addiesveteransmagazine.com.
Okay.
And there's a pop-up box. It says subscribe. Just click that button and you can choose. We have monthly pay, annual pay. If you don't want to commit to a full year, you can buy a single copy. Sometimes we even have leftover copies, which we really don't have many. I guess for the last 6 issues, we've sold out. Like we have
Nice.
no extras. And we only print as many, you know, we have a certain overage we print, but we only print as many as subscribers and our general overage, simply because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So, but if, you know, so sometimes people get a current issue, or sometimes they have to wait until the next issue. So, but we will, if people pre-order, we will absolutely send them a print copy.
So what is next? You have Devil Dog Publishing going, and you know, folks, I'll have the website link to Devil Dog Publishing in the Oscar Mike Radio Show post, as well as the at ease URL Christine mentioned, so you don't have to miss out. You know, what's next for your company, Christine?
So Devil Dog Publishing is currently working on a series of short stories by Sergeant Major Greg Leal, and it's called Amongst Warriors. And he is kind of chronicling through short stories his experience in 2003 during the shock and awe,
Oh, wow.
the aftermath of what he experienced and the PTSD that followed, and how he dealt with it. And then in remembrance, and that really is just a series of poems, and phenomenal poems actually, that are written to his Marines, to those who are gone, to really everybody who serves. So he's a phenomenal gentleman, amazing. And so yeah, we're working on his book. So the second we get done with this issue for Addie's Veterans Magazine, it's back into the fire, so we can hurry up and get his stuff laid out and edited so we can go to print with his book.
So if I'm a veteran listening to you tell the story about Devil Dog Publishing, and I think I have, you know, an article you may be interested in, what's the steps to go through and submit that article to you? Do you?
Easy. Les, just email Les. It's my assistant editor. Les at addiesveteransmagazine.com. And just submit your story, submit your idea, submit your feature idea. Listen, we are open, because this isn't my magazine. This is your magazine. For veterans, this is your magazine. What do you want to see? You know, what features do you want? You know, one of the things I really want to start bringing in, and I'm hoping I can do it in the winter issue, I want to start, listen, we're vets. We like to eat. We're foodies. I really want to start bringing in some recipes and stuff. I would love to get some ad sponsors who are like, you know, spice rubs and, you know, distilleries and wineries and beers, and really come up with some really kick-ass recipes to go along with this and incorporate those. I think that would be a very cool thing to do. So that's one of my ideas. We just have so much. We have a lot of you know, veterans who have a lot of great ideas, and you know, and we're not all, you know, yes, we're all very similar in so many ways, but we're all very different as well. We
wow.
all have very different interests and ideas about things, and we want that too. The one thing we will never do, we will never censor you.
Oh, wow.
There is no, do I dare say, this idea of wokeism or any of that. I don't care. We're vets. We should have a spine. I expect us to have a spine. So, so we're just out there, and we really are, I mean, until I started doing this, I really had that hole in my heart from I didn't feel like I got to complete my service
Sure.
to my country, but more importantly, I didn't feel like I got to complete my service to my brothers and sisters in the military. And so now I get to do that. And one of the things we do is we are a First Amendment, I believe we took an oath, it didn't end, and every veteran deserves to say what they want to say. And so that's who we are.
So I have at easeveteransmagazine.com up here
Mhm.
and Devil Dog Publishing. I'll have both links in the Oscar Mike Radio show post. I guess, to kind of close this down, I meet veterans who want to write,
Mhm.
and more than submitting the submission to a publisher, they're just trying to write, and they feel that same thing that you felt, that maybe they're not good enough.
Right.
What's your advice for that veteran who likes writing, wants to write, and maybe is thinking, what, this might be worth publishing? So before we even get to you as a publisher, and they should go to you, how do they, get that roadblock cleared out to, move on?
Well, it really comes back to, I think, what were we taught in the military, right? I mean, with Marine Corps. And by the way, I only know really Marine Corps. I mean, yes, technically I was in the Navy, but I don't really know that much about the Navy. So I'm sorry, because corpsmen are kind of like a service amongst themselves. Um, but I don't really know, I just look at it like, improvise, adapt, and overcome. And don't ask the people closest to you to read your writing. Go to another vet,
Yeah.
go to a brother, go to a sister, and say, hey, these are my feelings. What do you think about this? But then be open. Don't be offended if they're like, oh, well, what if you do this, or what if you do that? Be open, be teachable, because writing is not, it is a skill, and it is developed over time. Even those who have a natural ability, it's fine, it's great, but there's still always room for improvement as far as like writing skills go.
Yeah.
So just keep doing it, and whatever you do, just keep writing, no matter what. And when you get to those places, those scary places in your mind where I really want to write this down, I don't want it in black and white, but I do want it in black and white. Put that shit in black and white. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because the second it's on paper, it's not in your head. The second it's on paper, you can look at it now objectively instead of reliving it over and over and over again. And there is some cathartic healing that happens when you have the courage to write the hard stuff down.
Okay.
So that's my advice, is just keep writing. And then also, if you do want to get published, or you want to improve in writing skills, email me. I mean, I will email you back. My email is Christine@doubledogpublishing.com, and I will respond to you. You may have to give me a few days if I'm in the middle of layout and design, but for an issue or something, but be patient and just, send me your stuff. And by the way, I'm not going to publish it without your permission. And I'm certainly not going to, just blow smoke up your butt,
Right.
and just tell you, oh, you're so great. If I think there's room for improvement, I'll say, wow, that's a great start. What about doing XYZ? Or what about this? I've done that with writers all the time. They hold back, and you can tell they're holding back. And my response is, do not hold back. You do not hold back. Just write what you want to write.
Awesome.
And even if it's just for yourself, great. But you know what? So much of the writing and the stories in our publications have helped so many other people. I get emails all the time. I was really touched by this story. I love this. I love, people just love that it's free. You know, like the ideas are free, and people can say what they want to say, and they don't have to watch. You know, it's not politically correct. It's like, you know, we're vets, you know. And by the way, the humor, our military humor is very edgy, and I'm sure we use a lot from Gunny Esterly's you know, misguided Uncle Sam's Misguided Children.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we use a lot of his stuff from his books. So they're pretty raw. So, but just write, just make your just write. That's my advice.
Well, you know, Courtney was on. I mean, Courtney gets on me from time to time, and I love it. So maybe, Christine, I'll dust off an article and see what you think.
Absolutely, you better, because
All
we're
right.
always like, we got a lot of room in our winter issue.
All right.
So I'm just saying, people, send on your articles, send on your writing samples, and you know, it's very possible you could get published in our winter issue.
Well, I will have the email address is it Lee?
Les.
Thank you. I'll have
LES.
LES at devildockpublishing.com or
No.
at Ease Magazine.
Les at Addie'sVeteransMagazine.com.
So the email, ladies and gentlemen, is les at
EaseVeteransMagazine.com.
see. All right. We'll get this right. You know, there's a lot of veterans, a lot of our brothers and sisters, Christine, who are so creative and you're looking for that outlet. And I just think this is an amazing thing that you give to people that, you know, might help them out. So, oh, yeah, got the chat right there. Anything else before we close? This is gone by quick. I'll have to come back on.
I know. Yeah, we'll have to come back on, and I'll bring Les too.
Awesome. Done.
Yeah. And I can also get you a podcast interview with Sergeant Major Leal too.
Really? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. I'm
Love
all
it.
connected. So we will, yeah, I will absolutely come back on. I think the biggest thing is, you know, for your listeners is just, you know, if you have something in your heart to do it. If you want to start a business, do it. If you want to, you know, do not be afraid. You know, we're veterans, you know, we've been through the fire.
Right.
On some level, all of us have been through the fire. Do what you want to do. The only limitation that you have is what's your own mind is telling you is a limit.
I love that. And it's so true. I mean, that kind of attitude kind of got me where I am with Oscar Mike Radio when, you know, I was figuring it out. And the two crafts, writing and what this is, are very similar in some respects. So I definitely appreciate what you do. Hey, yeah, I definitely want you back on. I have had a great time. I've learned so much. And folks, I'm going to have, again, all the links, the submission link. If you are a veteran and you're looking to try to get published, you've got an opportunity here. And, you know, Christine, first of all, I'll say thank you, Courtney, for the connection.
Yes, thank you, Courtney.
And Christine, what a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We have another veteran doing amazing things and getting out there and helping other veterans. I'm Travis, the Oscar Mike Radio. I'm with Christine Walker from Devil Doc Publishing. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we are mission in flight. Thank you.
Join us on National Wreaths Across America Day, December 16th, 2023. Each December on National Wreaths Across America Day, our mission to remember, honor, and teach is carried out by coordinating wreath-laying ceremonies at Arlington National Cemetery, as well as more than 3,700 additional locations in all 50 states, at sea and abroad. Join us by sponsoring a veteran's wreath at a cemetery near you, volunteering, or donating to a local sponsor group.
you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 998 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.